What is going on, guys? This is George. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going through my favorite Pokemon in each generation according to their type, as well as full all region. So I thought this would be kind of fun to do, something a little different. But if you like it, or if you want to see which ones are similar, which ones are not, let me know. So first, we're going to start off with the normal type for Kanto. Now, this is a tough one because there's some decent Pokemon for the normal type, but then there's others that are just kind of meh. But for here, I'm actually going to go with Tauros. Now, I could have put down Snorlax, but I'm going to go with Tauros instead because I like Tauros a little more. Because, I mean, it's a raging bull, and I thought bulls were cool at the time. So, anywho, on to fire type. This is another tough one because I don't want to do duplicates. So what I'll do here for my fire type is I'm gonna go ahead and pick Arcanine because it's a doggy, and I like dogs. I do like cats because I have a cat, but dogs are cool too. For water type, this is a tough one because you have a lot of good water types here. Of course, you have Squirtle, you got Gyarados, Lapras, Vaporeon. I'm going to go ahead and select Gen 1. I'll pick Blastoise. Blastoise is pretty cool. And then grass type. It's another tough one because see, there's some good ones, but I gotta go with Venusaur. You have to go with Sir Venus over here. Venusaur. For electric, that's the easy one for me. That's gonna be Jolteon. Ice type is easy for me, which is Lapras. For fighting type, I'm gonna actually go ahead and pick Primate because I've used it a lot when I was playing Pokemon Yellow, and I love in Gen 9, wait, 8 generations too on top of that, they finally gave Primate an evolved form, and it desperately needed it. But I also like it as is too. Poison type, that's no doubt about it. It's going to be Weezing. Now on to ground. I'm going to go for Nidoking for that one. For flying, I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, that makes more sense. I'm going to go with Gyarados. Because you don't really get a whole lot of options for flying type Pokemon, but hey, you gotta start somewhere, and Gyarados fits that right in. That's why I didn't go for water. For Psychic, I'm gonna have to go with Mr. Mime. I have always used Mr. Mime when I played Fire Red, and it's always done me very well. Bug type, this is sad. I'm gonna go with Pinsir because the bug type was rarely used. Rock type. Scooch on over here. For rock type, I'm going to go ahead and pick Aerodactyl. Ghost type, we only have one. Dragon, only one. There's no dark type. But you can do Missing No. I guess to have something, I'll go with Missing No. Steel type, of course, Magneton. Fairy, I could go for Mr. Mime here. I'm actually going to go for Clefable for Fairy. Starter, I gotta do it. Charizard. I like Charizard. Gimmick form. So this is all our forms, X and Y onward. So for my favorite gimmick form, I'm gonna have to get the Blastoise. The Blastoise G-Max, because it's a freaking cannon. What else can you be asking for? It's a cannon. For a legend, I'm going to go ahead and pick Mewtwo. Now, my favorite out of the whole region. That's a tough one. because you have a lot of good options. Oh, this is a tough one. See, this is the challenge I wanted to give myself. I want to give myself this kind of challenge, so that way, I have to like decide, and this is gonna kill me. For Generation 1, I'm gonna have to, because I really like Weezing. But of course there's Charizard, and of course Lapras. I'm gonna go over Lapras as my favorite. I don't know, I've always seemed to like it a lot. And also that was another Pokemon I used a lot in Fire Red, and it did very well for me. To the Johto region now for Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and then of course Gold, Silver, Crystal. For normal type, how incredibly interesting. Because it's bulky, I'm going for Miltank. Fire, I'm going to go with Houndoom. Water. For water, I'm going to go Kingdra. Grass, of course, Meganium. Electric, Zappy the Ampharos. Ice. Don't really give you a whole lot of ice options, but I'll give it to Piloswine. Fighting, of course, I'm going to give it to Heracross. Poison, actually, no. I'm going to give it to Hitmontop. Poison, Crobat. Ground, I'm going to go for Steelix. Flying, I'm going to go ahead and give that to Skarmory. Because, yes, I was the one of very few that knew Skarmory was a Gen 2 Pokemon, not a Gen 3 Pokemon. Psychic, we have all the unknowns and a couple others. I'm going to go ahead and pick Espeon. Of course, we've got to show love for Wawa. Bug type. Don't huckle with the shuckle. That's right, I picked Shuckle. For Rock, I'm going to go for Tyranitar. Ghost, we only have one option. Dragon, one option, but now I have to go back to Water because I don't want to have two Pokemon in the same spot. I mean, I guess for Alligator. Dark. I'm gonna go with Umbreon. Steel. We're gonna go for Scizor. Fairy. I will go ahead and give it to Azumarill. Starter. Ace the Typhlosion, baby. Gimmick. I'm gonna give the gimmick to Mega Scizor. I think it's kind of cool, honestly. Legend. I'm gonna pick one of these just to annoy you, Katie. Okay. I'm gonna go with Ho-Oh. I kind of like it more than Lugia, even though I know Lugia first. And my favorite out of all of them, this is kind of easy. Typhlosion. Got my boy Ace. If you know, you know. Anyway, to the Hoenn region, Generation 3, for my favorite normal type there. It's Slacking. I love the fact that there's this Kecleon, and it's not the shiny form. That's just the other Kecleon from Mystery Dungeon. But we're going to go Slaking there. Fire type, I want to go for Blaziken. Water type, I'm going to go ahead and pick I'm going to go over Walrein. Grass. Ludicolo. Electrics, Minitrick. Ice. I have always liked Galili. I know it's not like the most powerful ice type or anything like that, but I'm going to go with Galili because I like it. Fighting type, I'm going to go with Breloom. Poison. I'm going to go ahead and go for Swalot. And for ground type, I'm going to go ahead and pick Flygon, because Flygon gets no love for some reason. For flying, I'm going to go to... Oh, that's so cool. I know you can't see it, so I'll just move to the side. Actually, I'll lower my face camera. Do. Shadow freaking Lugia. It's not in the Gen 3 games. Well, it's not in Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, or Fire Red Leaf Green. It's a reference to the other. I'm picking Shadow Lugia. I have to pick Shadow Lugia. Okay. I always thought it would look cool. Psychic. I am going to give that to Gardevoir. Bug types. I'm going with Shedinja. I love its Wonder Guard ability. For rock type, I'm actually going to go ahead and pick Regirock. For ghost, I'm going to pick Dusclops. Now the world of the dragons. I'm going to go with Salamence. For dark type, it's kind of hard to pick a dark type, but I'm going to go for Shiftry. I've always liked Shiftry for some reason. It's just me. For steel, I'm going to go ahead and pick Metagross. Fairy, I'm going to go for Mawile, because eventually it got better with the fairy type. For starter, I'm going to go ahead and pick Swampert. I've always loved Swampert. I do like all of them. It's just I like Swampert the most. For gimmick forms, I'm giving it to Rayquaza. Legend, I gotta pick Rayquaza. And my favorite out of all of them. I know I said I wasn't going to do dupes, but if it's a gimmick form, I'm not going to really count it. These are all really good. I will have to go with... There's reason behind it. I'm going with Metagross. Gen 4 now. My favorite generation because I started with Gen 4. And for normal type, this is a no-brainer for me. And that is... Lopunny. It's not what you think. Okay? Hold on. It's not what you think. Get it out of your head. Long story short, I had a Lopunny. I had it at level 95. And it swept Red's team in Soul Silver when I played it for the first time. But it's not what you think. Get your mind out of the gutter. Anyway. For fire type, I'm going to go ahead and pick Magmortar. For water, I am going to go with... This is a little tougher. I'm going to go with the Rotom Wash. Because Rotom itself is like very overpowered. To where like you couldn't really go after it. Grass type, I am going to go ahead and pick Roserade. Because I loved using Roserade when I wasn't using another grass Pokemon from Sinnoh. For electric type, I'm going to go ahead and pick Luxray. For ice, I got to pick Mamoswine. He was going to show up eventually. For fighting, I'm going to go ahead and pick Lucario. Poison, I am going to go with Toxicroak. Actually. For ground type, I am going to go for Rhyperior. Because I love Rhyperior. Flying type, it's a little hard to go, but I'm going to pick Staraptor. Because this Staraptor that I used, I named it Hoshi, which means star. It knocked out the Garchomp in BDSP. And I took myself out too, but I had other Pokemon in the background. But basically, I'm screaming Hoshi saved the day. So Staraptor has a spot in my heart for basically life. For psychic types, we're going to go ahead and select Gallade. For bug, I'm going to go ahead and pick Mega. I thought it was cool when I saw it in Platinum for the first time. I'm like, that is awesome. For rock type, I'm going to go ahead and pick Bastiodon here. Because I've used Bastiodon a few times, and it's never disappointed me, honestly. For Ghost, I'm going to go ahead and go for Dusk Noir. I love it when it got the evolution. Actually, wait. I'm going to pick Frostlass because of one thing alone. Snowcloak. If you know about Snowcloak in Generation 4, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. For Dragon, I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, that's the Dialga from Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, Darkness and Sky. Yeah, I'm a nerd. Shut up. I already have a gimmick Pokemon with Shadow Lugia. For Dragon, I'm going to go with Giratina. For Dark type, I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with Spiritomb. I always like Spiritomb. I thought it was cool looking. For Steel type, I'm going to go ahead and pick Empoleon. No, not Empoleon. Magnezone. For Fairy, I'm going to go for Togekiss. Starter. Mess with Turt, you get the hurt. I'm picking Turtwig. Gimmick form. These ones aren't really that good, so I'm just going to go with Mega Gallade. Because it looks kind of cool. For a Legend, you guys are going to go after me in the comments. I don't care. It's Palkia. And my favorite Pokemon out of all of them is easily when I say, mess with Turt, get the hurt. It's Turtwig. Now on to Generation 5. For normal types, we have quite a bit. Why do we have legs? What the hell are these guys? Stoutland. What is that? Next to Reshiram. I don't know what that is. If you're watching this video and you know what this is and what the other creatures were, let me know in the comments. Darmanitan. Okay. These are normal. Alright. For water, I'm going to go ahead and pick Seismitoad. I thought it looked kind of cool. For grass type here, there's another one. Lilligant. Electric. Okay, this has to be like some kind of like Pokemon side game I've never played, obviously. Again, if anyone can find out what it is, let me know. So I'm like, oh, I'm stupid. For electric, I'm gonna go ahead and pick Electros. Now, ice type. Not a lot of ice types here, but I do like Cryogonal, so I'll go with that. I'm not one of those that are going to be like, they made an ice cream Pokemon. They ran out of ideas. Well, there's another Pokemon later. I'm going, they made a garbage Pokemon. They are really running out of ideas. No. For fighting, let's see what we got here. I'm not picking a Kung Fu Master as a fighting Pokemon. I guess we're just not going to get away with it. I'm going to go ahead and pick Emboar for that one. For poison. That's the garbage Pokemon. They're running out of ideas. I'm picking Garbodor. It's cool. And plus, when I was a kid, when I played it for the first time, I thought its little hands, I thought it only had a pinky and a thumb, and I thought the index finger was a cigarette. Anyway, to ground types, I'm going to go ahead and pick not Conkeldurr, Crocodile. Because I think it's pretty cool they finally brought in a Crocodile. For flying, I'm going to go with Archeops. when it's not using Defeatus, or if it's not having its Defeatus ability. For Psychics, I'm going to go ahead and... There's more of these. Okay, I'm going to try to not think about it that much. For Psychic, I'm going for Victini. I always thought it was cute. For Bug types, we're going to go ahead and pick Volcarona. I thought this was an awesome looking Pokemon. When I found out it was a bug, I didn't want to use it. But then I gave it a bit, and I gave it a go, and I'm glad I kept it. For Rock, I'm going with Gigalith because it looks awesome. Honestly, you can't tell me otherwise. For Ghosts, we're gonna go pick Chandelure because I always thought it was pretty badass looking. A Chandelier going after you. I loved it. For Dragon, let's scooch this over here now because we're starting to reach the other side of the page. I'm gonna go with Haxorus because in Black 2 you get a shiny version of it, and its shiny is pretty badass looking. For Dark type, we are going to not include all ones in the box except for this one. But since I already picked Haxorus for Dragon, we're going to give Hydreigon some love. Also, real quick, one Pokemon I want to mention here is Volibye. When you are running around with the Pokemon that you want to run around with as in Scarlet and Violet, I can't tell you, it's so freaking cute watching this little thing run around. It looks like a baby running around in his diaper. I thought it was the cutest thing out there. So you get some cute points, followed by Buffras, my favorite dark type in the region. It's Hydreigon. For Steel type, we have a Time Machine. And Clang Clang. For Fairy, there's only really one option, so Whimsicott goes here. For starter, I'm going to go with Samurott. I started with Superior, and I liked it. But then when I tried playing it again, it wasn't as good as I thought it was. So I went with Samurott instead. For Gimmick, there's literally only 2 forms. Because I don't know what any of these are, except for these 2. And honestly, I'm going to go with Mega Audino. I thought it looks pretty cool. For the Legendary, I'm going to go ahead and pick Reshiram. I always thought it looked cool. And my favorite out of all of them, I'm going to give that to Haxorus. Alright, on to Generation 6. And we have all the Furfros and Megas. But I'm going to go ahead and pick... Pyroar, that's what it's called. This Pyroar. For Fire, I'm going to go ahead and pick... I'm going to go ahead with Talonflame. For Water, I'm going to end up going with... I'll go with you, Volcanion. I think it's kind of cool looking. Plus, I love the Water-Fire type option, which we never had before. For Grass, I'm going to go ahead and pick Chestnut. I know not a lot of people like Chestnut. I'm one of those where I give respect to Chestnut because I enjoyed using it. For Electric, you don't really get a whole lot of options except for all the Pikachu forms. So I'm going to give it to Dedenne just because of the trading card game where you had a Dedenne GX where you can basically draw until you have 6 and continue your turn. For Ice, wait. Avalug's at Gen 6? I thought it was a Gen 5. Oh, well. I'm going to go for Aurorus either way. Because I like dinosaurs. They're kind of cool. For Fighting, I'm going to go with Halucha. I love how they brought in a wrestling Pokemon. It's about time they did. For Poison, I'm going to go with the only option, really. Scrounged. And for Ground, I'm going to go ahead and pick Zygarde. So I always thought it was kind of cool. And, of course, everyone's been like, yeah, Pokemon Z, we're supposed to have Pokemon Z. Pokemon Z. Yeah, we didn't get it. Oh, well. So on the Flying now. And I'm going to go ahead and pick Noivern. Yeah, Noivern, that's correct. Just making sure I'm like, was it Noibat or Noivern? But I had to think about old videos I used to watch. Alright, Psychic. I am going to go with Delphox. I actually really like Delphox. when I came back to Pokemon, I used Delphox, and it has done me very, very well. For Bug, there's only really one option, so I'm going to go with Vivian. But because I'm picking Vivian, I can pick its wings, so I'm going to go with this one. Because it's a Pokeball, I thought it was cool. For a rock, I'm going to go with Tyrantrum, because when I came back to Pokemon, like I said, I used the fossil Pokemon for the first time, and it was a Tyrantrum, and I just wreaked havoc on everybody. Any other Pokemon I used afterwards were either from after I played X and Y or from trades. Because I know I mentioned earlier about using a Bastiodon, but that was for from a trade I got. Ghost. I'm going to go with Aegislash. I thought Aegislash was really cool. And again, another Pokemon I thought was in a different generation. Where are we at now? Dragon. It's easily Goodra. For Dark, I'm going to go ahead and pick Yveltal. I love how, like, with Xerneas and Yveltal, there's just an X and a Y. I thought that was pretty cool looking. For Steel, I'm going to, because I have already picked Aegislash, I'm going to go with Klefki, so we don't have dupes. For Fairy, we have a lot of different versions. I'm actually going to go ahead and select Diancie, because I always thought it looked cool. For starters, I'm going to go for Greninja, because, you know, that's like the main thing to go for. Now for gimmicks. I'm trying to see all these gimmicks. So this was like the real start of Megas. I'm going to give the gimmick edge to Sceptile, because it looks cool. For Legendary, I'm going to go ahead and not give it to Pokken Tournament Mewtwo. I'm going to give it to... give it Mega Rayquaza. And my favorite out of all of them, I am going to go ahead and go with Greninja. Alright, so now we are on to Gen 7 with Sun and Moon. And my favorite normal type out of all of them is Beware. Now, Beware and Stuffle kind of have like a soft spot. Mainly Stuffle for me. So, not to get completely into it, but when I was a kid, I used to have a cat. And when I moved away, unfortunately, I could not take her with me. So I lost my cat, which I was really upset about. And Stuffle's cry, when I first saw it, I was in tears because it sounded like that cat that I lost. So it really hit me. So to remember that cat, I always use Stuffle when I can, and if it was going to be helpful. But Beware, once it evolved, it actually became like a real good powerhouse. So I was like, okay, I made the right decision, despite some past history. For fire types, I'm going to go with Salazzle. I always like Salazzle, and I was hating myself when I was playing Sun and Moon for the first time. I caught a Salandit, not realizing you need a female to evolve it, and I had a male, and it was in the I had it in the 40s before I realized something's not right here. For water type, I'm going to go ahead and pick Primarina. And for grass, I also Primarina, I love the fairy type edition, making it very more powerful than it needed to be, because it was already pretty good. For grass type, I'm gonna go with Serena, because when I started using it in Scarlet and Violet, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool looking. For electric type, I'm going to go for Vikavolt, even though I don't know why Vikavolt is so slow. And you can't say, oh, nerf it, because we've had a lot of other stronger Pokemon get more stat buffs than it needed to. And Vikavolt, in its Pokedex, it says it's faster than Jets, and it doesn't even have 50 speed. It's so weird. I don't understand. But anyway, to Ice, I'm going to have to take care of that to a Alolan Ninetales, because I think it's just so beautiful. I love it a lot. I think it's awesome. Does have a times 4 weakness to steel, which I think is the only time a Pokemon had a times 4 weakness to steel. For fighting, I'm gonna go ahead and give it to. I'll give it to Marshadow, actually. I never used Marshadow, but I thought it looks pretty cool. Poison type, I'm going for Naganadel. Because, you know, it's a pretty cool looking Ultra Beast, not gonna lie. For ground type, I'm gonna go ahead and pick Mudsdale because I love the whole. I like the Pokemon. I've played Ultra Sun not too long ago, and I had a Mudsdale, and that just swept everything because it had Moxie for its ability too. For flying type, I'm gonna go ahead and pick. I'm gonna go with Celesteela. I thought it was a cool looking flying type, and with the Ultra Beast story, I thought that was pretty cool as well. For Psychic, I'm going to go ahead and go with. I'm going to go with Necrozma. I always thought it looked kind of cool, and I didn't realize it, but when you play Sword and Shield, at least for the DLC pass, when you are doing the legendary Dynamax battles, and you catch Necrozma, that was like the main thing to go after. I thought it was cool, though, that they did that. But for Bug, we're going to go ahead and go with Ribombee. Oh, I'm sorry, Araquanid. Sorry, no, Araquanid. Because I didn't pick it before, and it's actually awesome. For Rock, I'm going to go with Duskform Lycanroc. I think it has a cool design. For Ghost, I'm going to go with Mimikyu. I like the story behind it where it thinks it's trying to be a Pikachu, but then you try to remove its cloak and you die. For Dragon, I'm going to go with. See, part of me wants to pick Drampa, but Komodo is awesome. So I'm going to go with Komodo, but Drampa's not too far away. For Dark type, I'm going to go with Guzzlord. For Steel, I'm going to go with Stacker Tacker. Wrestling fans will know when I do the whole Stacker Tacker. For Fairy, I'm going to go ahead and pick Ribombee here. For Starter, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Dartrix. Not Dartrix, Decidueye. Decidueye, because when I started playing Ultra Sun, I used it to get myself a challenge, and I actually really liked it. Gimmick form, I'm going to give that to Necrozma. And then for favorite legend, I'm going to go with Solgaleo over Lunala. And then my favorite of all, the whole region, I'm going to have to give that to Mudsdale. And now we are going to go to Gen 8, Sword and Shield. The game that everyone loves, but just don't mention trees. For normal type, sorry, I have an H under my arm. For normal type, I'm going to go ahead and select, well, we got some Legends Pokemon, so it's going to be easy for me. I'm going to go with, Zoroark, the Hisuian Zoroark. I'm not going to try to go full on Hisuian forms, but that's a start. Next up for fire, I'm going to go with Colossal. I love the idea that Colossal has an ability to where it actually raises its speed when water moves are trying to be used on it. I thought that was pretty cool, especially with its times for weakness. For water, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Inteleon. I liked it when I first played Sword, and whenever I try using it again, I've always still liked it. For grass type, I'm going to go ahead and give that to... I'm going to give it to Thwacky. I like the idea of it being a drummer. For electric, I'm going to go with Toxtricity High Key, because that one, I always like that more than Low Key. For ice, I got to go with Ice Cube, just for the simple fact that it's got ice on its face, and it can take a hit from it. For fighting, I'm going to go ahead and give that to... I don't know which Urshifu it is. I'm just going to give it to N Urshifu. Because I like the concept behind it. Poison. I'm going to go ahead and give that to... I'm going to give it to Sneasler. I know some people aren't too thrilled with Sneasler, especially with how it's being used in Legends to carry you around. But trust me, I kind of like it. For ground type, I just got to go Sandaconda because my Sandaconda don't want... Yeah, my Sandaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hun. Please don't go after me, Mr. Mix-a-Lot. I thought it was funny. For flying type, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Hisuian Braviary because I thought that looked awesome. And its shiny form is even better. For psychic, I'm going to go ahead and give that to Mr. Rhyme here. Because it was an underdog Pokemon that I used in Sword. And I rarely used it. But I will say it. I like the design. I thought it looks awesome. And for Bug, I'm going to actually give that to Frostmoth. And I know Frostmoth's not really a great Pokemon because it has a lot of weaknesses. And some of them are even ×4. But I thought it looked kind of cool when I saw it for the first time. So I'm going to try to give it some love. For Rock type, I'm going to go ahead and give that to Hisuian Arcanine. As I like the Rock Water option, I just don't like ×4 weakness to water. For Ghost, I'm going to go ahead and give that to Hisuian Typhlosion. So Ace makes yet another appearance in its past form. But I've always liked... I knew that we were going to do something different with the starters in Legends. And I kind of like how it got a new form, Typhlosion did. And I thought it looks pretty cool. Some people prefer to it as like a Betty Boop look-alike. But I think it does well enough with its typing. For Dragon, I'm going to go ahead and pick Dragapult for that. I love Dragapult, and for a while it almost became my favorite Pokemon in the entire series. But there's another Pokemon that's going to be coming up later that definitely takes the cake on that one. For Dark type, I'm going to go ahead and actually give it to Grimmsnarl. Because the times I use the Grimmsnarl, it actually is really good, especially with the light screen setups. And willing to take hits without any issue. For Steel, I'm going to go ahead and give that to Duraludon here. I thought it looks awesome. And it got help later on, which was also great. Now on to Fairy. And I'm going to go ahead and give that to Galarian Rapidash here. Because that was like the biggest hype when it came in. Now for my favorite starter. I'm going to go with Hisuian Samurott. Overall, Hisuian Samurott's good for the game. But still, again, it's been really nice, very helpful. My favorite gimmick. I'm going to have to go with... You see, there was a lot of good gimmicks. I know some people are like, ew, gimmicks. But I thought it was cool. I'm going to give it to Hisuian Typhlosion. Favorite legend is going to go to... I'm going to give it to Eternatus. And my favorite out of all of them, Hisuian Typhlosion. So Typhlosion got shown twice. I'm not a fan. I'm not like a #1 Typhlosion fan. It's just I like it. For Gen 9, Scarlet and Violet, give the Chonky Boy some love. And then for Fire type, I'm going to go with Armarouge. They're both cool, Armarouge and Ceruledge, but I go with Armarouge because I use that more in Pokemon decks. For Water type, I am not sorry at all. I'm picking Walk and Wake. For Grass, I'm going to go ahead and pick... I'm going to actually pick Hydrapple. I do like the idea that Applin got a lot of love, basically. For Electric type, I'm going to go ahead and pick Pawmot. I thought it was pretty cute when I saw it. For ice, I'm going to go ahead and pick Titan because I actually found a shiny Citadel during my 24-hour stream almost a year ago, actually. And I evolved it to Citadel, and it just looks awesome as a shiny. Fighting. I'm gonna have to give it to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give it to Annihilate. Actually, I'll give it a later time. I'm gonna give it to Flamigo, mi amigo, because Flamigo is underrated. That bird has better stats, a better BST than Kilowattrel, and Flamigo almost soloed the Elite Four. For poison type, I'm gonna go with Revavroom because I loved it. I love the fact that it's an engine. Also with its pre-evolution, I always go Varoom every time I pull a card or if I find one in the wild. For ground type, I'm going with Blood Moon Ursaluna because I thought this was awesome. I liked the whole process of it. And my girlfriend decided to help me out giving it a nickname. So I gave it the most intimidating thing out there. Cuddles. Now we're going to go to flying. And I'm going to go ahead and give it to Bombardier. Because I did my Pokemon Violet using only Starter and Titans. And Bombardier did a lot of heavy work. Right before Manfred 5000 came out. And then we have Psychic. I'm going to go ahead and give that to... I'm going to give it to Iron Leaves because I didn't really use a Psychic except for like Veluza for a little bit. And Veluza's okay, but it seems like no matter what I did, I never used it in the right time. So I'll just pick that for now. For Bug, I'm going to go ahead and pick... I think this is called Relor. I thought it was pretty cool. It was a pain to get, but they made it easier if you get the DLC. For Rock, I'm going to have to go with... I'm going to go with Glimora because you have the option to set up Toxic Spikes when it gets hit with a physical move, and I love that. I know why Geeta didn't use it, but... use it as her first Pokemon during your Elite Four battle, but I can see why she eventually uses it towards the front. For Ghost, I'm putting in Annihilate because I gave up the Flamigo. And now we're going to go to Ghost. That's not Ghost, that's Dragon. I see 3. I'm just going to pick our Chaladon and get away from the stupid expired sushi! The Dark type. I'm going to go ahead and go for Roaring Moon. For Steel, because I like to call it that. Varoom! Let's go to Fairy. I'm going to go ahead and go for Tinkaton. Because I love the idea of it just wanting to destroy everything. With its hammer. For starter, I'm going to go ahead and go for Skeledirge. But more importantly, actually, Fuecoco! Yes, he's the derpy boy! And then my favorite gimmick form, I'm going to give that to... I'm going to give it to Terapagos. So I thought it was pretty cool. For Legend, I'm going to go ahead and give it to, I guess, Terapagos here as well. Then my favorite is Fuecoco. So now we have our final thing, our favorite Pokemon from everything we've picked. For the normal type, it's Slacking. For the fire type, it's Talonflame. For water, I'm going to give it to Walking Wake. For grass, I'm going to give that to Roserade. Electric type is going to get Toxtricity. Ice type is gonna get the Alolan Ninetales. Fighting type is going to get Emboar. For poison, I gotta give it to Crobat. For ground type, I'm going with the Blood Moon Ursaluna, aka Cuddles. For flying, it's between these two, but I'm not going to do gimmicks anymore, so I'm going to go for Hisuian Braviary over Shadow Lugia. For Psychic, I'm going to go ahead, give that to Wawa, the Espeon. For Bug, I'm going to go ahead and give that to Volcarona. As for Rock type, I'm going to give that to... I'll give it to Aerodactyl. For Ghost, I'm going to give that to Ace. Or Hisuian Ace. For Dragon, I'm going to go ahead and give that to Dragapult. For the Dark type, I'm giving it to Spiritomb. And then for Steel, I will give that to Metagross. For Fairy, I'm going to give it to Togekiss. Starter. Turtwig. No. I'm sorry, Turtwig. I'm sorry, Fuecoco. Gimmick. I'm going to give it to Terapagos. Legend is still Palkia. And my favorite out of all of these Pokemon. Some of them aren't even there. Oh, no, they're all here. I didn't even notice. My favorite out of every single one of these Pokemon is... It's Fuecoco! Yes, my favorite out of all of them is Fuecoco. Now, you head down here and you can actually look at more things that we could do. Favorite teams, favorite regional birds, mammals, all that other fun stuff. If this video gets... We'll start slow. If this gets 20 views, I'll do another one of these. Alright? So, without that, all that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is George. I'll see you guys later.